I have the distinct pleasure and honor to bring up Kamini Lane. Killing me, Marvin. Kamini actually, she just recently joined us as President and CEO of Coldwell Realty. And I'm excited because this is the first time I get to hear you speak in front of everyone. So I'm very excited to hear you. I will tell you, in terms of backgrounds, I mean, just outstanding resume. She comes from one of our sister companies, worked with one of our competitors, and also has a marketing background, not to mention the fact that she's an Ivy League graduated from Harvard. So, credentials speak for themselves, no doubt. But the best part about it that I want to bring up, I should mention also a mother. But what I wanted to say is, when asked to come here and speak to all of you and as an intro, just do a Q&A, there was no hesitation. It was like, absolutely, let's do that. So I really do appreciate the fact that you were so gracious to join us today. And I love the fact that you're so open to come here and listen to all your questions and obviously field them. So I'm not going to take up any more time. You guys hear me talk enough. Without further ado, it's Kamini Lane.
So I have to say that if I knew that I was going to be following a speaker that made you guys laugh, cry, have an emotional roller coaster, I might have said no. But I guess it is what it is. So you're probably not going to cry in the next 5 minutes or so as I'm speaking, but hopefully I can answer some good questions, and that'll be the value of me being here. So I'm Kamini Lane. I am the new president and CEO of Coldwell Realty, and just incredibly honored and humbled, really, to be here. So let's see, I think I've been in the role for 5 weeks now, so I won't pretend to have anything profound to say, but I can kind of share a little bit about myself and a little bit about kind of my early observations here. So I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and I live there currently with my 6-year-old daughter, Leela, and my amazing husband. And I'm a native of Los Angeles, but I've actually lived in several parts of the country and have worked in many parts of the country, from Pennsylvania Dutch counties to Waco, Texas. I spent a lot of time in Waco, Texas. New York City, New Jersey. So I've really had the benefit of, throughout different chapters of my career, seeing local communities and local entrepreneurs. And that's kind of been a theme in my career. So I started off very early in my career, in the early 2000s, at eBay. And that's where I started to understand technology. So I sort of talk about my Venn diagram as the intersection between brand and marketing, technology, and luxury. And eventually all of those things kind of came together to bring me to real estate. So early in my career, in the early 2000s, I worked at eBay. And that was where I started to develop a passion for this idea of powering entrepreneurs. Now, I will be honest, I am not an entrepreneur myself, right? The idea of starting something from scratch terrifies me. Like, I like structure, I like lists, I like to know that there's a foundation in place that I can build off of. But entrepreneurs themselves really inspire me. So when I was at eBay, I started to kind of form this kernel of thought around what can I do as a business person and as a marketing person, as a brand strategist, as a business strategist, to really power entrepreneurs, small, medium business owners. And those are the folks who sold on eBay, right? People who were selling a handful of Beanie Babies a month, or people who were selling, hundreds of thousands of dollars of merchandise a month. I also, at eBay, ran the designer handbags category, which kind of introduced me to luxury, but in sort of an unexpected fashion, right? And started to form my thoughts around luxury. So I worked at eBay for a number of years, and then I went to Harvard Business School, wanted to do something really creative after that. So I got into the brand strategy, advertising, and marketing industry, and worked in agencies for about a decade. And then it kind of came full circle, went back in the tech space, and I was the chief marketing officer of a fashion technology company called Tradesy, which is a platform for peer-to-peer commerce. So very similar to the idea of eBay, powering, again, those entrepreneurs, small business owners who were using Tradesy as a platform to sell. And then I got recruited over to go to Compass. Interesting time, it was 2018. and they were looking for people who understood marketing, technology, and luxury. So I came over knowing nothing about real estate. I literally didn't even know what a commission was. I had to ask that question in like week 3 and was mortified. Turns out you can Google that, so I probably should have done that instead of asking somebody, but you know, I had no shame. So really quickly fell in love with real estate, because the thing that occurred to me was that kernel that I'd formed when I was in my early 20s working at eBay was coming to fruition, right? This idea that I could be part of the engine behind these thousands of amazing entrepreneurs who were building their businesses in real estate. And spent some time at Compass, went through the IPO, got recruited over to go run the company-owned business at Sotheby's International Realty, loved that business, and 9 months in, Ryan and Schneider and Sue Yannicone asked me to come over here. And this is kind of the ultimate realization of that dream that I had when I was in my early 20s working at eBay. We have over 55,000 real estate agents in the Coldwell Banker Realty portfolio, including the franchise side, over 100,000 real estate agents. And so the opportunity that I have now to kind of help our leaders, everyone in the field, empower the most amazing and largest class of entrepreneurs in the world, I think is just second to none. So I'm really excited to be here. Again, very humbled to be here. It feels surreal that I'm the CEO of Coldwell Banker Realty, but just really excited to see what we can all achieve together. That's it. Great, yeah. So I don't really like pontificating for too long, so happy to take questions.
Hello, we're good. Who has some questions? Please, you're starting us off here.
The last time you bought or sold a house, how did you choose your realtor?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the last time I bought a house, I chose my realtor through the relationship that I had with that realtor, and narrowed it down because my husband, so it was a husband-wife team. I was friends with both the husband and the wife, and then had dinner, like a couple's dinner, right, double date, and my husband and the husband really connected. And I knew that they were neighborhood experts. Like the expertise part of it to me was already there, but the personal relationship was what really nailed it for me. And I always say that this is, ours is an industry that is built on a foundation of relationships. And I think we need to always come back to that, right? Because whether we're talking about in-office support or we're talking about technology, which has been like a hot button in this industry, we can never forget that it is built on relationships. So whatever it is that we're building and whatever it is that we're supporting has to magnify those relationships, because that's the thing that's the glue at the end of the day.
Shout it out. Who else has something? Raise your hands. I'll deliver the mic. Please, Jerry.
Hi, as CEO of Coldwell Banker, what is just one thing you hope to accomplish relatively soon? Because I know it's a big question.
Yeah. So I think that there are a couple of things actually. One is kind of coming back to the point that I just made around relationships. I think there's a lot of talk about how our industry how there have been entrants into our industry that have tried to disrupt through technology. And so something that I hope to accomplish relatively quickly is putting that lens of people and relationships on everything that we're building, right? And thinking about co-creating tech and co-creating solutions with the people who know it best, and that's our agents and the people in the field. So I think that there's sort of like a, if you want to get textbooky about it, there's like a feedback loop to create there to ensure that what we're creating is actually magnifying that bedrock of relationships, right? And the people aspect of it. Because I really believe that there is no future in which you can cut the real estate agent out of the transaction at scale. It's too complex and too nuanced to do that. So that is an immediate thing. And then I think the second thing is really making it super crystal clear who Coldwell Banker Realty is. What is it that we stand for? Why do people come and why do people stay? And that's both for staff and for agents. You know, I have a deep background in brand strategy, and I think a meaningful brand that backs up what the brand says it's about with what it does is one of the most powerful things that you can have as a business. And I think we have a brand that has an amazing amount of heritage, an amazing amount of scale, is recognized, possibly the most recognized real estate brand, you know, in our industry. And I think we have an opportunity to really tighten what it is that we're about, what do we stand for, and what is compelling about this brand.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Roderick. Get me a workout over here.
Kamini, welcome to New Jersey. We're happy to have you. You're in front of the best agents in the entire company. And we love to get to know you. So we're excited to have this opportunity to learn more about you. So as the new CEO of the best brand and the best company in the world, tell us something that you'd love people to know is important to you as you lead this brand.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really, really important to me is diversity, inclusion, diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI initiatives, but making it really clear that DE&I is not a social good. It's not the right. It's not that you don't do it because it's the right thing to do. You do it because it's smart business, right? There are economic imperatives to DE&I that should drive every single business in the United States and beyond. And I don't think that most people are fluent in the economic imperative of DE&I. I think, you know, by and large, most value-driven companies agree that DE&I is important. But if you dig a layer deeper, I don't know that so many of them can tell you why it's important from a business standpoint. And so that's something that is really important to me, and that I'm really passionate about. You know, I think it's important from representation for you know, any underrepresented class. And I think about the fact that my daughter is growing up in such a different world than I am, and I want that world to have a lot of texture, and I want it to be smart business to add that texture.
All right, so I require a question from this side of the room so I don't have to run.
You've mentioned twice your daughter who's 6 years old, and I was just wondering, as a working mom wearing a lot of different hats, how do you balance it all and make it all work while still feeling like you're doing a good job at all of those things?
There is no magic. So I was a single mom for most of my daughter's life. So she's 6 years old. My husband and I got married on May 9th last year, so almost exactly a year ago. So, and Charlotte Simonelli and I talked about this. She's a single mom. Is a single mom currently still. We talked about how the most common question that we got was, how do you do it? Like, there's a magic carpet that's floating us around everywhere and like wiping sweat off of our foreheads for us. There isn't, right? Like, you're exhausted a lot, you feel afraid a lot, you feel like you're not doing everything well. And I think the only solution that I have come to is ruthless prioritization and feeling comfortable that no is a full sentence. So I really, really believe in focus. I really believe in figuring out what are the things that need to get done now, what are the things that need to get done by the end of the week, what are the things that need to get done by the end of the month and the end of the year. Because the reality is, when you try to do everything and everything is important, what ends up happening is nothing's important, right? And a lot of things get done halfway, and a lot of things don't come to fruition, and a lot of things aren't what they could be. And so I had to get really comfortable saying, these are the things that I'm going to accomplish this week, this month, this year, and I'm going to do them well. And I'm not going to get to everything that's on the list, and that's going to be okay.
What else do we got? I'll ask you a question. So you obviously come into our industry, or not our industry, excuse me, our company at a pretty tumultuous time in the industry. I'm curious, like, where you see the landscape. I think that a lot of people in here probably have some fear as to the market. Maybe not after Al's presentation, but just in general, I think that a lot of people are cautious about, with interest rates rising and everything else. I'm just curious about, like, you've come from a competitor, you've come from a sister company. Where do you see the real estate industry going? How should all of these people feel in terms of your comfort level?
I think that the last 24 months or so has made people forget the last 50 years. So the 50-year average for 30-year ARM is 7.75%. Okay, can anyone guess? In October 1981, what was the 30-year ARM rate? 18.81%. So we're at 6.5 right now. Seems pretty darn good to me. Right, and so I actually think that what is going on in our industry right now is a resetting of the baseline, and frankly, a little bit of media hype trying to make the baseline what it had been for the last 24 months as opposed to what it's been for the last 50 years. Real estate is cyclical, it's local, and it is still the safest investment when you look at any 10-year horizon of investing. So if you look at the S&P, you look at international investing, you look at equity indexes, real estate is the one asset class that has predictably appreciated over every single 10-year period. So are prices going to go up 41% in 24 months ever again? Probably not. Is that going to be okay? Yeah, because most of the people in this company have been through cycles before, right? And know how to manage their businesses. And if they haven't, and if they don't, we have the tools and resources to help with that. I think the key is to not get caught up in the hype. And the key is to keep yourself grounded in current data and help your clients get grounded in current data. And I actually think some of that's already happening, right? I think that, like my mom is an example. She's obsessed with real estate. She probably spends more time on Zillow than any other website. And she'll call me and she'll say, the value of my house just went down by 15%. And I'm like, based on what? Based on the Zestimate. But I think that a lot of that fervor is starting to die down, and people are starting to realize, listen, any real estate purchase or sale is based on a combination of two factors: lifestyle and investment. And I tell everyone who asks me, and people think I have a crystal ball, by the way, I'm sure they think all of you have a crystal ball as well, but people ask me, should I buy, should I sell? And I say, listen, how much of your decision is based on what you need for your life? You need more space, you need less space, you need a backyard, you don't need a backyard. How much of it is based on your life, and how much of it is based on this being part of your investment portfolio? Some of it, if you're a home flipper, if you're a developer, maybe it's 100% part of your investment portfolio, and it's something that you're doing to generate income on a short-term basis. If you're like me, it's basically 100% life. We bought a house last year, and we wanted more space, we wanted a house that was ours, not just mine, and we wanted to get into that house before interest rates continue to rise. So we bought a house, right? So I think it's like, be honest about that equation. Is it 50-50? Is it 25-75? And then from there, go to your local realtor who is grounded in the data in that neighborhood. Remember that it doesn't matter what's happening in Tucson if you don't want to buy in Tucson. It doesn't matter what's happening on, the countrywide averages don't matter at all. I think that there was a report that came out last week, and it looked at 200 major U.S. metros, and it said that 87 or something like that of those metros had 52-week highs in price in March 2023, and like 100 of the metros had lows in March 2023. So it goes to show that there's no spreading of the data, right? So figure out what's going on in your market, what's right for your life, and then make decisions accordingly.
Hi, thank you. Nice to meet you. I wanted to make a statement and then also ask a question. Of course, I forgot the statement already. Okay. What you just said about your mom being on Zillow, I would love to see Coldwell Banker being savvy enough and technologically enough advanced where people use our search engine. So a lot of my clients send me homes via text, via email, like, hey, I found this home. It's never through a Coldwell Banker site. And we are the largest ones in this area. It's either Redfin, Zillow for sure, Lycra, way more than Coldwell Banker. Redfin I said already, right? So it's interesting because especially working with us and having Coldwell Banker on their mind, that's not their go-to search engine.
It doesn't come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Coldwell Banker, cbhome.com is the most visited of any brokerage site by like a margin of 10. And the traffic that goes to Redfin and Zillow is so far above that the investment that it would take to catch up to that, I think, would probably not be a great use of money. But there is opportunity to continue to be a leader by that like 10x margin in terms of all other brokerage sites.
And right now, Zillow is not a threat, at least in our area. But Redfin, I wouldn't really call them a threat, but someone who's looking on Redfin calls the Redfin agent. And that's where we get calls from Redfin agents to show our listings, which I don't want them in my hood, and they don't.
Right.
I don't know anything about this area whatsoever, and you know that they were recognized and contacted because of their website. Number one, and number two is because they have some kind of a cashback situation.
Yeah, and it is really interesting because there's data that shows that a lot of those Redfin agents will go on that first showing, but they're rarely the ones who actually close the transaction. That actually happened to me when I was when my husband and I were searching for our home. He had set up a showing, totally like independent of me. I didn't, it's like we're showing up to this thing, and then this lady shows up, and I was like, "Who's the lady?" And he was like, "I don't know who the lady is." And it was a Redfin agent who had set up the showing through, Redfin.com, and the Redfin agent showed up to show us the house. And obviously we were like, we don't even know your name. Like, who are you?
But if you love the house, she's the one who showed it to you.
But in California, you don't sign a buyer's contract. Yeah. So
legally, she's the one who showed it to you.
In New Jersey, they have procuring clause, so it's just different in different states.
Okay, I did not know that. So I think that there's a ton of opportunity for us to improve our lead generation, and that is definitely something that we're focused on. And then again, just continuing to win that race in the realestateBroker.com is a big focus of ours as well.
Yeah. I remember the comment. Before I forget. The clients right now are it's very difficult to be a buyer right now because the prices are definitely growing in our area, and so are the interest rates. So it's a double slam against the buyers.
Yeah.
And they are trying to almost time the market. Like what do we do? One of the things I actually had exact conversation about an hour ago, just like this. You could buy a house potentially for less money, but the analogy I use is the same as if you're buying a ski vacation, not during the February break. So you're pulling your kid out of school, skiing and skiing at that's probably about, hold on, maybe people can't relate to that. Hold on, let's talk about Christmas, like a Christmas vacation. You can have the same vacation in the same island of St. Bart's, but you're a week too late and all of a sudden not the same people are there. So you're getting a deal, but it's not the right timing. So sometimes, and I am now working with certain families for 3 to 4 years, the running joke is like, you don't really need the high school here anymore. Your kid's about to go to college. Start talking about downsizing. That's all I have to say. So timing is everything.
Timing is everything, yeah.
Tim?
So you've worked for 3 different brands in our industry, 2 in this building, 1 not. What I'd like to hear is what you see as what distinguishes Coldwell Banker as a brand versus every other real estate brand out there, both for the consumer and for the agent.
You know, I think it's really interesting because I think there's a big opportunity for us to have a better answer to that question. And also, it's very clear to me what distinguishes Coldwell Banker as a brand, and that is the amount of heritage and history and expertise that is in this brand, right? In the 55,000 agents on the company-owned side. I have never met so many agents that have a decades-long career with Coldwell Banker Realty. And I think that in a lot of ways, that is what insulates this business from some of the ups and downs, the extreme ups and downs that we've seen in the last couple of years. And so that, you know, when I was at Compass, you know, by definition, everyone was there for a handful of years, right? And spending time still trying to figure out why, you know, whether the reasons that they came were the right ones, and was the technology what it was, you know, sold as, and all of those sorts of things. But I think that at Coldwell Banker Realty, people are here for a reason, and that reason is the people. And I think that enables a focus on the business that is really unlike anything that I've seen before.
I got a lot of hands popping up. We're getting a little bit more interesting, huh?
Piggybacking on what the agent said before about Redfin and Zillow, every time I read the real estate section on Sunday in the New York Times, those 2 companies are always quoted with stats. It's very seldom Coldwell Banker. Can we change that?
Yes. I had media training on Monday. So yeah, it is definitely a focus of ours.
So I'm Matt O'Hare. I'm relatively new to the industry, but I do a lot of my business through social media. And I'm with Coldwell Banker because of the relationships. Like, I just met Ellen. She's a rock star, I'm told, in Livingston. You've done a couple deals this year. Congrats. So my struggle and my difficulty with our systems right now is I'm trying to quickly edit brand guideline specific pieces, and I noticed that the system is just not working. Sometimes it times out, sometimes it's a user admin issue. Again, I'm going to take that piece and I'm going to post it to my Instagram, my YouTube, my TikTok, and all that. I would just like to see some type of quick resolutions or quicker stuff. It's great that you're from Compass, I think, and you might have had that technology part. I'm really excited to see what you can do with that.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if Lindsay's still in the room, but
She just perked up to this question.
Yeah.
She literally stood up like every 3 inches.
Yeah, oh, there she is. Yeah, I mean, you know, we are always looking for ways to improve the technology that our agents use most often. And I think, you know, not only on the tool side, but on the service side as well. So, you know, we've got some, you know, the next available field support and things like that that are, I think, kind of exemplifying the idea that the best support is the one that's on your terms, right? And the best tools are the ones that work for you.
Hi, welcome aboard. So I'm Marvin Williams, right? So coming back to the Zillow. Right. So, you know, we have agents here, and the thought process, whether you're thinking it through, whether to go technology is really not to go from a Coldwell Banker silo. But I'm thinking you have several brands, sister companies, and if you hook up, say with 6 more brands, right? You guys can do your own branding in terms of a different website. So it's not really a Coldwell Banker force now. It's New Jersey Realtor Force, whatever you call it. I know we have the Garden State MLS as own.com, but something different, right? So the cost to get to Zillow is a huge spend. But if the agents feels that, hey, look, this is our website, and we push this website, you have economies of scale, right? Because all these buyers that are looking, always say, hey, look, well, I can't use the word here, but ignore Zillow. This is where you need to go, right? So if you have the agents behind it, right, and the agents are confident that this is our brand,
Right.
right? But someone has to think it through, right? Because I started to think it through, but I need to generate business. That's really.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
But I think you get the point.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that there are a lot of things that we can achieve at scale because we have the power of 6 brands behind us, and I think that makes, I think it makes sense to look at opportunities where our scale really differentiates us.
So it's your scale plus going to other brands,
Right.
and work with synergies.
I wanted to add to the Zillow and that excellent conversation about the press and who's being quoted. This is one of the reasons. Anyone who's a reader of the news is reading articles where Zillow or Redfin is being quoted. In our own area, I read, in my own town, I read sometimes articles where agents are being quoted, and I haven't ever heard of the agent's name. I'm a top agent in the state of New Jersey, and I have never been approached to be interviewed. Now, I'm not just talking about me. I'm just saying that the opinions are coming of people who shouldn't matter that much in our industry. They don't deserve to matter that much in our industry, but they are approached because they are with those companies.
You don't even have a non-Zillow question.
All right. Thank you. Well, Farrell. I'm going to talk about Zillow, but in a different way. I was thinking about, obviously, all the concern with Zillow, and I was trying to think of a good analogy, but if you think of Zillow almost like the pharmaceutical business or industry, right? They're giants, they're big, they spend a lot of money in advertising. And you see commercials about different types of medicine all day, right? I don't spend a lot of time watching TV, but I do see a lot of commercials about medicine. My point is, when I see this commercial about medicine, I don't go buy that medicine or try to get a script just online, right? I go to my doctor. If I have that issue, I go to the specialist and I get his opinion and I ask questions. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you focus on relationships, it doesn't matter what Zillow thinks, because every one of my clients that goes on Zillow comes to me with questions. Doesn't call Zillow, doesn't speak to a Premier Agent. Now, the deeper question is, are you that person that's worth even getting the call? Are you improving yourself daily where they perceive you as a true professional? Or are they going somewhere else? I love what Al said about that mirror, right? It's the biggest, most important part of that banner. And that hit me hard, because you have to look inside and see, what am I doing to be the best professional for everyone to have confidence in calling me and not someone else? Because you are the expert, you are the doctor. Let them come to you for the advice, right?
Yeah. I'm stealing that, thank you.
He looks
great.
at himself in the mirror all the time.
First of all, Kamini, welcome to our company. Thank you so much for being here today. I just wanted to ask, for Q3, Q4, what's your direction and strategy for the company? What direction, or can you give the agents as well as the managers in this room?
Yeah, so I think that there are 2 pieces of that, right? One is sort of trying to predict the market, right? And so I think that has become increasingly difficult because we see so much volatility in terms of frankly, like, you know, the last Fed press conference was immediately preceded by a press conference from the Treasury Secretary, who contradicted what Jerome Powell said. So, and then you had the Treasury Secretary in his press conference who was telling you not to listen to Wall Street. So it gets very confusing. You know, the sort of consensus is that rates should stabilize, that there's sort of like this magic number at around 5.5%, and perhaps that is where we hit equilibrium, and that perhaps that will happen towards the end of the year. And if not Q3, Q4, then in 2024, rates are definitely expected to stabilize. So, you know, I would say, again, nobody has a crystal ball. We don't know how things are actually going to play out, but there is general indication that there should be light at the end of the tunnel towards the end of the year. And I would say that preparing yourself to take advantage of that, if it does come to fruition, is really, really important. So again, you know, to the point from the back of the room, making sure that you are the person that's on speed dial, right? Like making sure that you are really up to date on your clients' needs and understanding who just needs a little bit of a nudge to pull the trigger when the macroeconomic signals start to become more predictable and more optimistic. And all of that is 101, right? But I think that it's really important to reiterate because we've been in such an uncertain time, and there's maybe signals that that might calm down towards the second half of the year. I think that the second piece of it is sort of a 30,000-foot view of the company, and that is a lot of what I've talked about already, right? So from a technology standpoint, I think it is making sure that we are doubling down on getting feedback from agents in the field and really taking a perspective of co-creating tools and technology that are really useful. I think it is really doubling down on some of the stuff that we have in market already, like next available marketing, that's making support on your terms. So the idea of sort of simplified technology and flexible support. And then I think that the last thing is, you know, we have affiliate businesses at scale in a way that none of our competitors do. And we have a tremendous opportunity to think about integrating those affiliate services and thinking about the whole real estate transaction. There's the sort of contract to close, and then there's contact to close, and it is really complicated. My husband and I both have MBAs, and we missed our first mortgage payment because we were so confused by the process. I was like, did you do it? No, did you do it? I think escrow does it. Is that the way that it works? I'm not sure. I think escrow does it. I think it's done. We're good. We were not good. And so we have a tremendous opportunity to take advantage of our scale, and that's, you know, to the point of we have a lot of scale in this business, and so how can we really think through taking advantage of our scale to make that process more simplified and more streamlined, both for agents and then ultimately for consumers. And if consumers have the potential of a more streamlined, more simplified experience by working with the Coldwell Banker Realty agent, that's another thing that's going to drive preference.
So I just got a unanimous question, and the question is what would your call to action be for this crowd?
Pick up the phone. I mean, you know, call your sphere of influence, text them, find out what's going on, understand who. So there's a concept in marketing, right channel, right time, right message, and that applies to your businesses almost more than anything else, right? Know who needs a text message that is a direct link to a listing. Know who needs you to pick up the phone and ask about their children and talk about the weather for 5 minutes first. Pick up the phone, be top of mind, be on speed dial, so that no matter what, to the point in the back of the room, no matter what Zillow or Redfin is doing, maybe they're going to browse that all day long. Like, again, my mom, obsessed with Zillow. No matter how many hours she spends on Zillow, she's still calling Rob Armstrong, who doesn't even live in her neighborhood, right? So be that person that they're going to call. You have that entirely in your control. And at the end of the day, that is what makes people's decision.
One last question here.
It's more of a comment. I just wanted to say, I love Coldwell Banker branding, but I didn't come to Coldwell Banker for its branding. I've been with several brokerages before I came to Coldwell Banker. But what drew me in and kept me here, and I think I have such loyalty right now that I can't even imagine life without Coldwell Banker, is because of the people that are hired here. And it really starts corporate level, right? Because it starts at the top. I mean, everybody from Rob to Al Garcia, Mike, Irv, so many people in this room, Gina Grossman, Lindsay, Drew. There's so many names that I'm mentioning that have somehow, with thousands of agents that we have here in New Jersey, they make the time to make you feel like you're the only one they care about. And that's what keeps us here, that's what keeps loyalty, and I think that's what draws the best agents in New Jersey. And I'm a Jersey girl, so I don't really care what's going on in the rest of the country. But the best agents here come because of the relationships, and then we all meet each other, and like we do it in Jersey, like we go to Triple Play, and it's like we've known each other for 30 years, and you know, all these Coldwell Banker, the Blue, you know, the Gen Blue events and so forth. So all I ask is also focus on the people that you keep bringing into the company, because that's what's working, I think, the best. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and I couldn't agree more. Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know,
We have a New York office also.
So I know you were so gracious to give us your time, and I realize you have another appointment coming up, so we'll get you out of here after that. But I do want to thank you. I mean, a lot of times, like real estate agents, they come, you know, across all companies will say, you know, one thing that I feel like we don't have is a voice, or we're not able to speak to like the powers that be and all of that. Well, that's clearly not the case. And I think you exemplified that today. I really do appreciate your time, and just a round of applause. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.